Thank you for the brevity of that introduction. Gives me more time. Well, you said a whole lot in a short period of time. I love that. I appreciate that. And I agree with everything you said. By the way. I just want to first of all thank so many of you who have helped me out so much here. I know that those can do are always called upon to be the ones that do. And I know what it's like, those long, sometimes lonely days working for a cause and something you believe in. And I just want you to know that that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm not here to try to pad my resume. I'm not here because I'm consumed with political personal ambition. I'm here because I think it'd be a good thing for the country. And I know that's what you're doing. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that, for doing that. I took a couple of days off and went back east and enjoyed all of the bounties that the holiday season and Mama provide. And it was wonderful, except when I got back on the campaign trail, I found out that somebody had shrunk my jacket. I don't know who washed that thing behind my back, but it was worth it. And I pointed out the other day, somebody, last time I visited Washington, I appreciate the weather out here because it was so cold in Washington the other day that the politicians had their hands in their own pockets. Hadn't got that cold out here now. Uh-oh, there are not any politicians here in the room, are they? I think that the holiday season and the political season overlap very appropriately. Some people say it's kind of unfortunate. I don't think so. I think it's really just kind of a short step, you might say, from the Christmas dinner table to the room here today. Because it's a time that we think about priorities, we think about what's important, and we think about what's not so important. That's the benefit of having lived a few years, kind of put those things in perspective. And we think about spiritual matters, we think about family and friends, and we think about our country. So it all fits together, as far as I'm concerned, because we live in the greatest country that the world's ever known. And it's every generation's obligation to make sure we keep it that way. That's what it's all about. And in order to understand how we can keep it that way, we got to understand how it got that way. And I think it got that way in large part because of the strong, common sense, conservative principles that we have shared as a people and that have united us for over 2 centuries. I'm talking about back from the very beginning when the Declaration of Independence was created and reminded us that our basic rights come from God and not from any government. And then they created a document that's delineated the powers of the federal government to be confined to those delineated in the Constitution of the United States. And we started out on this journey, the free people, the free markets, and based on certain notions and principles such as a dollar belongs in the pocket of the person who earned it unless the government can give us a good reason why it can spend it better than we can. Based on the notion that you don't spend money that you don't have. And you sure don't borrow against your grandkids and your children.
That's right.
And borrow stuff that only they can pay back. It's based on the notion that we don't go looking for a fight in this country. But we realize that the best way to avoid a fight is to be stronger than our adversary. And if we find ourselves in one, it's necessary to prevail, because to do otherwise will make it a much, much more dangerous country for us to live in, or for us to raise our family in. It's also based on the notion that we the people, decide our social policy in this country, not an unelected federal judiciary. And that we need a judiciary that will follow the law of the Constitution and not make it up as they go along. These are principles, and those like them, that have united us and made us strong and made us prosperous and unified as a nation for over 200 years. And yet, it is unassailable as we might think they are. They're under assault today. They're under assault from society in many different ways. And they're primarily under assault in this election year. And next year, by a left-wing, big government, high taxes, weak on national defense, Democratic Party that's just salivating to take back power, to lead us down the road of a welfare state, and we're not going to let that happen. That's what January the 3rd is all about, my friends. That's what it's all about. After all the hoopla is said and done, all the polls have been taken, which usually are wrong, by the way. If I check my hour history for the caucus polls, I look back at 1980 and 88 and 94 and things like that. After all that's said and done, we get down to answering the fundamental question. And that is, which man do we want to represent us to stand against this assault? Which man do we want to stand strong for our principles and our values? Now, I use that word man advisedly this year. Now, I'm an equal opportunity. I believe in the rights of all American citizens. I have a daughter that I fully expect to be back out here in Iowa running for president someday. But this year it's a man, and next year it's going to be a man. I see nobody else that qualifies for president of the United States. I'd be less than honest with you if I didn't say to you, I think that I'm that man. I know we're going into an era that's going to require strong leadership. I think we're going to need somebody who understands the glories of America's past, what we need to do in the present, and how great our future can be if we do the right thing. How do you judge a person running for president? I say, what does he believe and where has he been? My beliefs are pretty straightforward. I've got them all laid out in papers, and there's a bunch of them. But among my core beliefs is the fact that we need a simpler, flatter tax system that you can fill out on this if you want to. I believe that we have got to save a Social Security system that's going broke in this country. I believe that we have to rebuild the military in order to face the threats that we're going to be facing that are different than any of the ones we've ever faced before as a nation in the 21st century. And I believe that a country that can't protect its own borders will not forever remain a sovereign nation, and we must stop illegal immigration in this country. Now, I've set all these out in detailed plans, and they're set out for you at fred08.com for anybody to check if you're a real insomniac sometime. We'll talk about any part of them today. Maybe we'll have an opportunity to do that when I finish today. And conservative commentators across the board have looked at them and said not only are these good plans, but he's the only guy on either side of the aisle who's putting some of these ideas forward. And I'm gratified with that. But I also know that you're not elected a set of plans. You're not elected a set of position papers. You're electing a leader at a time when we're going to need strong leadership. For the last week, I've been going around the state of Iowa talking about these issues and talking about national security and saying that all these other issues that we have got on our table, and they're all valid issues we need to talk about, can pale in comparison over a very short period of time. Now, thank God that hasn't happened yet in this country, although we're one terrorist plot away from having disaster visitors. But we're reminded somewhat by picking up the newspaper and today turning on the television and find out what's happening on other parts of the world. We see where the person who very well might have been the next prime minister of Pakistan was assassinated in a brutal assassination involving